Good morning. This is the JP Dinnell podcast Q&A session with myself, JP Dinnell, and Lucas Pinkard. What's up, brother?
What's going on, dude?
How you doing, my man?
I'm old, fat, and cranky. How are you?
Probably the same.
Yeah, good.
No, I'm just kidding.
This is a
I'm not cranky.
fantastic
I'm having a good morning. I know. This is awesome. I was excited that we started kicking these off. We just had our first one last week, and then being able to knock this out is hopefully providing value to our listeners.
And if it isn't, we'll always wish it would have.
Yeah, and we'll keep doing it until we do provide value. We'll figure it out one way or another.
Practice makes perfect.
Let's go, baby. No, practice makes permanent.
Practice makes permanent?
Yeah. Practice doesn't make perfect, because if you're practicing the wrong things, does that make you perfect?
Maybe. It makes you perfectly wrong.
Okay. All right. I'll take that. Practice makes permanent. Intentional, perfect practice makes perfect. However, we're never going to get anything
makes permanent.
Yeah. So you have to be intentional
really
with the training that you do.
Yeah.
So
That makes a lot of sense.
Let's go.
Practice makes permanent.
See,
that's going to be the title. That's going on a t-shirt.
See, once provide a value to Lucas.
Thank you. Kirsten's gonna wonder why there's a practice makes permanent flag just in the middle of our house. It's gonna be in our living room. All right. So I got the internet has questions. Do you have answers?
I might.
Let's
you
make it
almost
happen.
made me spit up my Jocko Fuel.
Please don't do that. I think
you
I'm in
can
the
get at
splash
jockofuel.com.
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
Who's your favorite MMA fighter?
Oh, man, these are
good, right?
Favorite MMA fighter.
Yeah.
Man, I'm a huge fan of Michael Chandler.
Okay.
I really like Michael Chandler. Yeah. Is it kind of a D-bag move for me to say that I've met him and we text back and forth?
No, I think it's awesome.
I like him.
Yeah?
I like him as a human.
Yeah.
We spoke at an event together, and then we met, and somebody introduced us, and he knew that I worked for Jocko, and he had recently met Jocko and had cross-trained down at Victory MMA in San Diego, and we've been at a few UFC fights together. Not together, but they're at the same time, and like I would like take a picture of him and like take a picture and like send it to him in a text, and I'm like, "You've been sniped." They just start laughing. He's like, "Where are you at?" And I like tell him, and he'd be like,
awesome.
He'd like stand up and like point. We like kind of just back and forth, and he's a super cool dude, man. He's like, "Dude, if you ever want to come to one of my fights, let me know." He's just a good human. So I would say Michael Chandler. And he's a big fan of what Origin and Jocko Fuel are doing.
Right.
Which, if you support Origin and Jocko Fuel, then I support you as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So if you're thinking like heavyweight, because Michael Chandler's what, like middleweight?
Yeah, he's
like
a lightweight
heavy?
guy.
Yeah. So who's your favorite heavyweight MMA fighter of all time?
Of all time?
Of all time. Let's go all times. We'll put an S on it.
Oh, Fedor.
Oh, yeah?
Come on now.
Oh, for sure. Like, it has to be, right?
Fedor, gangster, man.
Who made that post?
That I look like him?
Yes.
So that started with my buddy Luke.
Okay. Great name.
That's no longer with us. One of my buddies he was actually in Buds, had some major back issues, injuries, got pulled from Buds, was an armor. He wrestled for the Navy.
That's awesome.
Was in Buds. Because of some injuries from wrestling, like literally growing up in wrestling his whole life, had a lot of like back problems or whatever.
Right.
Ends up getting pulled from Buds, but was a good dude, had a really good reputation. So they kept him in the community, and he was an armor in the SEAL teams, and just a good dude. And anyways, like he knew Chael Sonnen like growing up. Like they knew each other. And so he always called me Fedor Light. And if whenever I would call him, the picture that would show up would be Fedor. And he would never pick up the first time. And then he'd pick up the second time, and he'd just be in tears laughing. Be like, "What's up, Fedor Light?" And
my gosh.
And when he was in the hospital, one of the last times he ended up passing away from brain cancer.
Oh, man.
They gave him like 4 to 6 months, and he lasted 20 something months fighting it. I mean, it was nasty. Yeah, he was a fighter, man. And I was with him in the hospital, and I just remember him he's making fun of me. Like he's literally dying of brain cancer. And he's making fun of me about looking like Fedor. And he's just like just talking so much crap. And he was like, hey, I'm not going to say all the language he said on this. He's like, hey, you stupid. He's like, call me. I'm like, I'm right next to you, moron. I was like, how bad is his brain cancer? And you're telling me to call you. He's like, no, call me. He wanted me to see the photo, even though I know it was Fedor. And so I have a picture of his phone on his hospital bed with him, of me calling, and it says, it has my name, and it has a picture of Fedor. So
that's hysterical.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my favorite Instagram posts that I've seen is the one of like the super fight, and it's you versus Fedor and Jocko versus his silverback.
A silverback gorilla.
And then whoever did the Photoshop on the silverback, like the picture of Jocko is like obviously one from his podcast, and the gorilla's got headphones on in the other picture. It's like, what the heck?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, somebody took a lot of time to do that.
That was
pretty great.
I'm so bad.
You're blanking on it?
No, at pronouncing his name.
Oh.
Dude's from Sweden. Artem.
Okay.
Artem? Yeah.
Yeah.
He has incredible Photoshop skills.
No doubt.
Like, incredible.
This gorilla for real looks like it's just wearing headphones.
Yes. He did a photo of the whole Echelon Front crew, but, I mean, I'm talking Jocko, Leif, Dave Burke, Jason Gardner, myself, and I can't remember who the other guy was, but it literally looked like, remember the old school photo of the guys working on the old iron high beam, like building the skyscrapers, where they're literally out there, like just sitting there eating their lunch.
Yeah.
And it's a photo, but it's all of the Echelon Front crew. And it looks like that's us in that photo. He recreated it, but there's an airplane, an old school bomber plane flying in the background, and it's Dave Burke flying the airplane.
Really?
Unreal. I'm telling you, this guy's skill sets are unreal.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I'd like to. Is that also on your Instagram? How far back do I have to go to find that?
Oh,
maybe I'll just I don't
know.
I'll just click on this little gorilla picture here, and if that's the guy that did it, I'll shoot him a message. Hey, we need this.
Yeah, I think he's actually deployed right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang. Well,
actually, I know he is.
Yeah,
because he sent me a message before he headed out.
Yeah.
So,
which of the laws of combat is the most difficult to learn?
So that's going to be dependent on your personality.
Okay.
For me, the hardest one to learn was prioritize and execute, because you have to detach from your emotions, and I'm an emotional person.
Okay.
The whole, hey, if your buddy has got shot and he's laying in the middle of the street, don't run out and grab him initially. That's a hard one for me. And that was always a hard one for me.
Yeah.
Because I had this mindset of like, man, I'm not going to get killed. Like, I have God's protection. Like, I'm going to run, and so there is truth to that, but logically that doesn't make sense to anybody else. And so you can't teach that to people. And so while that was true on my deployments, and I have verified stories of literally like being in situations where it's like, how did you not get shot in that? And, all those things happening, because I had like just a hedge of protection wrapped around me.
Right.
That's not a duplicatable thing that you can train people.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I mean, well, you can, but it's not going to be applicable to everybody, because, well, that's a whole other story that we can go dive down into. But the whole detachment thing, and then now as a leader at Echelon Front and other stuff that I'm involved in, decentralized command is a challenge to me at times, not because I don't trust my people, not because I don't communicate to my people like the why and the what and let them create the how. I like to be hands-on with doing the work, because I like the work. And Cody put it really good in FTX, and he was like, if a leader's hands-on and he's involved in it, it's, he's like, you have to understand from a standpoint, it's not because they don't trust you. It's not because they don't think that you can't get the work done. It's because they care.
Yeah.
And if you have a leader that cares, they're going to want to be a part of what's going 100%. On. So that's my biggest struggle, is just letting my guys just run everything and just showing up when I need to show up and be a part of what I need to be a part of. And they do all that stuff so that I can be focused on the stuff that only I can do.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, they're all going to be difficult if you don't understand them and if you're not intentional.
Yeah.
And then when it comes down to what's the hardest for you, well, that's going to be off your personality type. Simple. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about communication. Some people, it's very easy for them to be simple, clear, and concise and get alignment and get feedback and get the read back before somebody goes out. And then you have other types, usually like the engineer types, that are super analytical and they give way too much information and they get really into the weeds of their communication and they just add confusion.
Yeah.
Some people don't have that problem at all. Cover move, I mean, I think I've always done a really good job at cover move because it's about building relationships and working together, and it's a one team, one fight mentality. Like,
you're natural at that.
I think so.
Yeah.
I would think, based off the feedback that I get from people, I don't think I really have an issue with that one.
Right.
But it used to be big time prioritize and execute because of detachment, and I get emotionally involved in this stuff. And so it's like, no, hold on. You don't have to go all in on this. Like, cut your losses at time, or have the ability to step back and just take a breath real quick.
Yeah.
Look at the situation, analyze it, assess, and then make a decision. So,
which one of the 4 laws of combat do you think is the most essential?
Well, if you don't do any one of them, it affects all of them.
Yeah.
So the answer to that is yes, all of them.
Okay.
That's the beautiful thing, and that's the problem, because what situation are we working on?
Right.
It might be, so if I'm working with a team and there's division amongst the different departments, what's the number one law of combat that I'm going to work on? Cover move, building those relationships.
Yep.
Well, in order for me to build relationships with somebody, what do I have to be able to do? Communicate with you. So if my communication isn't simple, clear, and concise, we're going to have problems building a relationship.
Yeah.
And so I have to be able to get those two. I have to understand cover move, and then I also have to be able to communicate for the other laws of combat to work.
Right.
So I would start with cover move and simple. Okay. Cover move is the first one we talk about because it is the base. And without cover and move, everything falls apart. So as I dive deeper into that, I will go back to cover and move. They're all, in my mind, they're all equally important, dependent on what you're working on. You might focus more heavily on simple in a different environment. Or let's say you have a different situation where, like, hey man, my church has all these projects that just got placed on us. Well, guess what? Prioritize and execute is going to be the one that you need to focus on.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you're like, hey man, we have this hyper growth right now with our church, like our youth program's blowing up. We've got all these small groups and they've been blowing up. And now I'm having to develop all these new leaders to take those. Well, decentralized command is going to be your biggest focus at that point.
Yeah.
And, but without cover move, you can't do any of them. So cover move is something we should all be aware of.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, the book, and we talked about this in the last Q&A, the book is kind of designed, that extreme ownership was a big, kind of eye-opener for both of us. But the book is kind of designed in that way. They start with the principle of extreme ownership and then moving to cover move.
Yep.
And I think that's an important thing. Where my other question just kind of poofed right out of my head. It was there, and now it's gone. How do you know when to micromanage somebody and when to give them space?
Yeah, everybody needs to be micromanaged right at the beginning. Micromanage is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like, you have to...
It's got a negative context.
Well, yeah, because people take things the wrong way. I mean, everything has a negative context. I mean, there's actually idiots out there that think water's bad for you.
I prefer to drink coffee, but I don't think water's bad for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I would prefer to drink an ice cold Mountain Dew, but that's not good for me.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, there's literally like people that take everything to the extreme and things become bad. But micromanagement, I mean, there's a time to micromanage, and the micromanagement comes at the very beginning of that relationship because you're managing the expectations of your people.
Yeah.
So if you know micromanagement has a negative connotation to it, then explain to your team why you're going to be hands-on and say, hey, the reason why I'm hands-on is because you are performing a very difficult and dangerous task. It is my job to have you prepared and be capable of doing this task without any safety risks or hazards to yourself and the team. When you can show me that you're proficient with these skill sets, I will back off. It is your job to get me to back off as fast as possible. So now what you're doing is you're setting expectations, standards, you're setting parameters, you're training them, you're teaching them how to work through these things, and you're giving them ownership. You're saying, hey, this is on you to have me back off. Once you show me you're capable, I'm hands off. Hey, I will trust you and I will let you run with these things. And when you can show people that you trust them and you give them ownership and then you let them running with things, then it's going to be good to go. Yeah. It's like when I teach shooting. If I've never shot with you, I've never seen you shoot, I'm going to be extremely hands-on and eyes-on. I'm watching. But once you can show me you're proficient, then we're good to go.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, because when I was teaching shooting a lot, I had this standards test that I created, and it was 10 tests. And in order for you to go from level 1 to level 2, you had to, in order for you to go from level 1 to level 2, you had to pass 8 out of the 10 tests.
Okay.
And I had a guy that was like, hey, man, I want to do the course. I want to do your level 2 course. I'm like, well, you got to do the level 1 course. He's like, well, man, I've been shooting for a while. I've got all this gear. I want to do like the level 2. I'm like, cool. You got to do the level 1. And I said, hey, if you can pass 10 out of 10 of the test cold, then you can do level 1 for free. And then you can do level 2. He's like, all right, cool. Sounds good.
Yeah.
So we put the test up.
I would take that deal.
I mean, yeah. I mean, why not? And so I lay out the test. Everyone starts off with the test, and like I explain it, I demo it, like literally I demo the test in front of them, and then we run through it. So I run through the whole group. Everyone does their test. Nobody gets 8 out of 10 right away. Nobody even comes close, and guess how many of those that he passed?
4.
0.
Okay.
He passed 0 out of the 10. And that's why I always have those like high standards, and I explain those like, hey, here's what we're doing and here's why we do it this way. At the end of the day, and now it isn't because the tests are super hard, it's because they're set at that standard for a reason, because there needs to be legitimate progress. And for you to go from a level 1 to level 2 course, you shouldn't be able to just go level 1, level 2, level 3 and progress along.
Right.
That's not good teaching. You don't have the fundamentals to be proficient enough to go from level 1 to level 2 within one day. And I would explain that to everybody. I would literally and I told them, hey, most of you guys aren't going to be able to go to level 2 after one day of shooting. Here's why. And it was this whole training philosophy that I would lay out to people that we can dive into in the future, if you just want to talk about that. But it was setting those standards. And at the end of a full day of training, he still couldn't get 8 out of 10 of the test. Yeah. So,
so how did he, what was his response to that?
He was super humble. He was cool.
Okay.
He was very humble.
Yeah, because that seems like it's one of those things that could go a couple of ways.
It could, but here's the beautiful thing. He was in an environment that I created that forced him to be humbled.
Yeah.
You're right. It could have gone a few different ways, but when you create a good training environment that allows people to be humbled without any question, it usually resonates with 99% of the people.
Yeah, for sure.
They recognize, oh, I'm not as good as I thought I was.
Yeah.
And then it's also how you talk to your people and you treat your people. When I'm teaching people, I'm not an a-hole. I'm not a jerk. I'm not yelling at them. I'm not calling them like names. I'm like, hey, here's some things you need to think about. Hey, I know that this was a good foundation that you had before for this, but this is why it's wrong. Try these new ways. And, in your coaching, if you're teaching and coaching people, you should be developing relationships with people. And that's what I used to do when I would teach shooting. I'd develop really good relationships with people. So,
right on. All right, last question, and this one is totally different than the rest. Who's your favorite person to follow on social media?
My favorite person to follow on social media?
Who's your favorite follow? Maybe we should categorize it, right? Because there's some people that you follow because they're like inspirational, and then there's other people you follow.
Sal Frisella.
Sal Frisella?
Yeah.
Okay, talk to me about Sal Frisella. Who is Sal Frisella?
One of my really good buddies. He is like the president, CEO now. I don't know what his actual title is of First Form. Which I know some people are like, oh, it's competition with Jocko Fuel. No, they all have really good friendships.
Yeah.
Like Jocko and Andy and Jocko and Sal and Peter and Sal and Brian, all the parties, they all talk, they all interact with each other.
Yeah.
And
weren't there like some First Form things at the Mustard? Like, wasn't that their donuts or something?
No. That was a different company, but First Form has protein bars that they send to the FTXs and the Mustard and everything else like that.
Yeah, because there's like discounts you can get on First Form stuff because they sponsor some of the stuff. Yeah,
and they've all been supporters of everything. Like a lot of the people at First Form wear Origin's clothes because they support Origin,
Yeah.
Now the Jocko Fuel and First Form in regards to supplements, there's competition there for some of the products, but there's a lot of stuff that First Form does that Jocko Fuel doesn't do and they won't do. And there's stuff that Jocko Fuel does that First Form doesn't do and they won't do. So there's never been an issue there. Like there's no ego there involved.
I've got some First Form. I think you gifted me some First Form athletic shorts, right? Which is not something that at the time that Origin wasn't doing. Dude, they're great.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're awesome.
And they're also
they're super comfy.
And they're a different type of shorts that Origin does.
Doubt. Yeah.
So you know what I mean? Like again, we're not comparing apples to apples. It's like, and so, but Sal is a really good friend of mine.
Cool.
I would put him in that best friend category. I don't have just one best friend.
I've noticed that you take the literal meaning of the word best very loosely when you apply it to friend.
Well, here's the deal. There's not one person that is the best in all aspects of life for the fulfillment that I need to make me a better human.
Well, I think that's a fair statement.
Correct?
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have multiple best friends that make me a better human. Sal Frisella is one of those guys.
I'm now following Sal Frisella.
Yeah. I shared one of his things recently on my story that he posted, and I had multiple people respond like, that's awesome. New fan of him, following for sure.
Yeah.
He just provides an amazing content in regards to life. You know, like Peter Roberts, big fan, obviously. One of my close best friends as well. Like Peter Roberts is my man. Brian Littlefield, my man, right? Jocko Willink, Leif Babin, those are my bros.
Right.
But when I'm talking about like, Peter Roberts' value that he puts out there is phenomenal for business, right?
Right.
Brian Littlefield doesn't post as much as he used to. I love Brian. Brian and I have phenomenal conversations, but if you're talking about somebody that I follow that provides constant content, Sal Frisella is one of the best in the game because he talks about family, business, health, recreation, all those things. He is consistently posting. And you know what? Cody Gandy's been in the game with his social media posts lately.
Okay.
The value that he's providing.
Game day is on it.
As a father and on the athlete side I am extremely proud of him.
Yeah, we were watching.
I am extremely proud of him.
So I know we joked about it with Mitchell that his posts just make me feel bad, so I don't look at them. But we were watching one. Yeah,
Cody's posts make us feel bad, like as in we're insecure.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. As though that were a question. So we were watching one last night. Kirsten and I were, and it was him and 3 of his kids in the driveway. doing like back and forth sprints up the driveway and then doing some box jumps and stuff. And his daughter is doing them in a dress and boots.
Yep.
And she's 3.
And she's crushing it.
Yeah. And she's just doing great. Kirsten was like, when we get a house, this is exactly what we're going to start doing with our kids.
100%.
Absolutely, man. It looks like a blast.
Yeah. Did you notice how intentional and focused his daughter was
the
whole time?
Yeah. She's locked in.
Oakley is... I love Oakley.
It's so cool.
Is so, and Baron Jet, his other 2 boys were just incredible.
Yeah, man. It looks he makes and looking at Sal stuff, like they make having a family, being a dad, look like it's fun. And I think that's something that we desperately need more of.
We need that in America,
no doubt,
more than ever.
Yep.
And to show that you can do it all.
Yeah.
You can do it all. You can be successful in business. You can put in the hours at business, because for him to do what he does, he's putting in a lot of hours. But then when he's home, he's intentional.
Yep.
When he's with his wife, he's intentional. Like the non-negotiable for him is date nights. Him and his wife have non-negotiable date nights, and that's important. And then non-negotiable time with his kids, and it's just his daughters are doing soccer and his son's doing baseball. And Sal was a high-level baseball player.
Yeah,
high-level baseball player, dude. And Sal and I, we've had some deep conversations.
He broke his leg or something, right?
It's disgusting. There's a video of it. I can't watch it.
I'm gonna go find it.
No, stop. Oh, I mean, you can go watch all you want. Just don't say. Just tell I will not watch it.
Okay.
And I'll see it coming and look away. So don't try it. There's been a lot of people that have tried.
I'm not gonna try it.
So yeah, those are the people I like to follow. I'm sure there's a handful also out there, but those are the ones that come to mind.
Sweet.
Yeah, man. Cool. Well, we appreciate you guys listening. We appreciate, as always, the support that Origin and Jocko Fuel has given me. They give us here at the podcast. The support they give us at Echelon Front. The support they give us at the Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu events. So if you want to check them out, go to originmaine.com or originusa.com, jockofuel.com. Check them out. Check out those products. They're incredible. Also, Little Cattle Co. is the Texas beef company that Stephen Little and I own. We are partners with that. If you go to littlecattle.co, you can check out what we have. We ship to all lower 48, and we also have a local pickup at our warehouse in Argyle. If you need any apparel printing needs, check out On the Path Printing. We are on Instagram only, so hit us up on Instagram. Let us know what you need. And then ultimately, everything that I do is based around what I get to do at Echelon Front. So go to echelonfront.com. It is a leadership consulting company that Jocko Fuel and Clive Babin started, and they gave me the opportunity to join them 7 years ago as a first instructor, and now I am our chief training officer. So give us a follow on social media and YouTube. The YouTube content that Echelon Front has been putting out is incredible. And as always, we appreciate you guys listening to us here. So make sure you guys are subscribed and hit that notification buttons, because these will randomly be coming out. And as always, we appreciate the support. Any and all feedback that you guys have, and also questions, let us know here. Drop some questions in the comments, and we will get to you. This has been the JP Dinnell Podcast Q&A session with JP Dinnell and Lucas. Good night, y'all.